From practical life to critical thinking, how pouring and sorting become reasoning. Part 4 of the Whole Child series from Creative Minds Montessori. Children do not begin by thinking in abstractions. No 3-year-old ponders classification systems or reasons about ratios in their head. They encounter the physical world first. They touch, move, compare, arrange, pour, build, sort, observe, and experiment. And through thousands of these small physical encounters, they begin to recognize relationships and patterns, the raw material of all later thinking. This is the big idea of Part 4. The thinking skills we prize in adults do not start with lessons about thinking. They start in small hands doing real things. Here is the sentence worth remembering. The hands are not a detour on the way to the mind. In early childhood, the hands are how the mind gets built. This is why a well-prepared classroom looks, to an adult eye, surprisingly full of just doing things. A child spooning beans from one bowl to another is not killing time before the real learning starts. The spooning is the learning. And once you understand why, it changes how you see almost everything your child does at home. Take a mental walk through a preschool morning and translate what you see. Sorting objects looks simple, but it introduces classification, the insight that things can be grouped by shared properties, which is the backbone of science, mathematics, and language. Arranging objects by size introduces comparison and sequencing, bigger than, smaller than, first, next, last. And pouring introduces quantity and control, how much, how fast, and when to stop. None of it looks like a lesson. All of it is one. The translation continues everywhere you look. Building introduces balance, structure, spatial relationships, and cause and effect. Why did the tower stand this time and fall last time? Cooking introduces measurement, transformation, timing, and sequence. Flour and water become dough, order matters, and you cannot frost the cake first. Cleaning introduces responsibility, order, and the relationship between an action and its result. The table is dry because I wiped it. These are early forms of mathematical and scientific thinking, and they are also early forms of critical thinking itself. Notice what is absent from that list: flashcards, worksheets, and drills. Not because those things are forbidden, but because at this age they skip the step that matters most. A worksheet about big and small gives a child pictures of the concept. A basket of nesting cups gives the child the concept itself, discovered through their own fingers, with immediate physical feedback when they get it wrong. In our classrooms, that is a deliberate design choice, not an accident. The material teaches, and the hand is the one taking the lesson. A preschool child does not need a formal lesson called critical thinking. What they need is far simpler: opportunities to encounter genuine questions. Why did this fall? Which one has more? How can we make these equal? What happens if we try it this way? These questions arise naturally, dozens of times a day, whenever a child works with real materials that push back. Water spills. Towers topple. The last puzzle piece does not fit. Real things have real consequences, and consequences are the world's most honest teachers. When a child hits a genuine question, like why did my tower fall, there are two paths in front of the grown-up. On path 1, the adult supplies the answer, and over time the child learns to wait for answers. On path 2, the adult says let's find out together, and the child tries, observes, and adjusts. Follow the second path often enough and it ends in the sentence that changes everything: I can figure things out. The other road ends somewhere quieter and sadder: someone will tell me. To be clear, there is nothing wrong with answering children's questions. Sometimes a direct answer is exactly right. The trouble comes when the answer always arrives instantly, because the child slowly learns that thinking is something adults do for you. Every time we resist solving a solvable problem for a child, we cast a quiet vote for the kind of thinker they are becoming. Not by withholding warmth, and not by refusing help, but by waiting one beat longer than feels natural, and letting the child get there first. The goal is not to turn preschoolers into miniature scientists, It is to cultivate a habit of mind. When something happens, I can wonder why, I can investigate, I can try something, and I can reconsider. This loop shows it in motion. The child tries, stumbles, adjusts, and tries again, and the mistakes are not failures, they are what feeds the loop, until it ends in I can. It is the same loop a researcher uses, the same loop an engineer uses, the same loop you use when the Wi-Fi goes out. Only the content grows up. The habit is formed now. A father told us about his daughter, 4 years old, whose orange slices kept sliding off her plate as she carried it. He started to reach for the plate, then stopped and asked, what could we change? She stared at the plate, walked back, and pressed the slices into the middle, away from the edge. They were too close to the cliff, she explained. He had been about to fix it in 2 seconds. Instead, she got to be a person who solves things. Dispositions like curiosity, persistence, and flexible problem-solving predict later success at least as strongly as early academic content does. You do not need materials or training, you mostly need to notice the openings. Cook together and narrate the questions. We need this cup full, how close are we? When something fails, get curious before you get helpful. It fell again, I wonder which block made it wobbly. Then wait a beat. Sort real things for real reasons, socks by owner, groceries into cold and not cold. Answer some questions with an experiment, will it float, let's fill the sink and see. And ask how do you know, in a genuinely curious voice. None of this takes more time. It reallocates moments you already share. The one big idea from Part 4, critical thinking is not taught in lessons, it is built by hand solving real problems, one genuine question at a time. Read the full guide, and the whole 14-part series, at creativemindsmontessori.com/parenting. And if you're in Frisco, come see our classrooms in person.